Looks like we're live. Oh, gotta tell you, I'm a little tired today. It's a little overcast out here in California, where I am coming to you from. And today's mini rant, micro rant, mega rant, I don't know yet. Hey, Michael, today's topic is inspired by a post I just saw over on the Book of Face, where a branding professional was ripping into other branding professionals. And her basic premise was she's sick to death of people, sounded like mostly in the sort of spiritual, new agey energy kind of woo-woo space, charging people an arm and a leg to send them a Pinterest board with colors. Hi, Amy. And tell them to change their headline on their Facebook profile, and charging them, whatever, $1,000, $2,000 for that, and calling that a rebrand. She argued that they don't understand what branding is. I would agree. I would agree that most people, both those who sell you things that they call branding, and most of you, don't understand what branding is. In fact, I would go as far as to do two things. I would say I want to draw a line here, whoop, and on the left we have what I call your personal brand, and on the right we have branding. So most of us, when we hear the word, what we think of, what we should think of if they've done their job right, is things like Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Chevy, Audi. These, hey Matt, these ubiquitous brands, right? These brands, Apple. You get the point. iPhone, iPad, these kind of things are brands. And the companies that make those products have to spend billions in order to get you to think a certain thing about those brands. Now, for us, first of all, we're not on this side. Virtually none of you that will ever see this are likely on the side where you have to worry about branding. What you have to worry about is your personal brand. And there's good news and bad news. And even though I said good news first and bad news second, I'm going to flip it and I'm going to give you the bad news first. The bad news is y'all don't have any damn idea what you're doing with personal branding. Personal branding is not your website. It is not your logo. It is not the color board that some crystal jockey dreamed up for you based on a headshot you sent them that you really liked. It's not any of those things. Now, I am sort of a fan of these line drawings, as you may know if you've been watching me for any amount of time. And so I'm gonna give you a line drawing here now, and I'm going to illustrate for you what you need to understand about a personal brand. You could think of it sort of like this. Now, you could think of it a lot of ways. This is one way you could think about. This is your personal brand, and I hope these cameras are not making this backwards. And this is the top levels of it, the external levels, the superficial levels, and it works all the way down to here. This little triangle here that radiates outward in an expanding arc or radius or whatever, this, kids, is the soul of your personal brand. And this is not a new agey thing. I'm just going to write that. Soul of your brand. This is what you must focus on first. What is this? Well, oh, by the way, so here we have a whole bunch of other increasingly external and superficial dimensions. And these are fine, okay? Not a bad thing. But so here you might have your color scheme, your website, your logo, whatever it is. But if you don't focus, my friends, on this little gem here, none of this that people are charging you arms and legs to help you create will matter at all. None of that will matter at all if you don't understand the essence. The essence of your brand, the purpose of branding, has always been to create a specific emotional response in the marketplace for a service, product, what have you. Say it with me. It has always been to create a specific emotional response, a connection, a correlation. When I see that image, I think of whatever. You get it? So we got to slow down here, and we got to make sure that you're really getting this, because this is the most important thing you can ever learn about branding or your brand. Whether you're in the product as brand side of things or you're in the personal branding side of things, the most important thing you can learn is that the whole point of a brand is one image, one idea, one thing that gives you a predictable set of emotional responses. Okay? So here's what I never hear anyone talking about. If you are your brand, which in the land of social media, and for those of us that coach, that offer services, programs, trainings, whatever, you should absolutely be your personal brand. And if you are your personal brand, you have a simple job. Simple but not easy. And that job is to create fans. But more so than create fans, to put yourself out there in a way that allows people to feel aligned to you. And you should understand that for every one person who feels aligned to you, there are bound to be 1 to 2 to 3 people who feel disaligned from you. This is fine. This is as it should be, and this is not something to worry about. In other words, you'll never build a strong personal brand unless you're willing to alienate some people. Get it? You got to be willing to alienate some to attract the others, right? The stronger you alienate these, the stronger you attract these. We are tribal, and that's what this is all about. So how do we do this? Well, it's far simpler than people are aware of or willing to sort of wrap their heads around. And it works like this. Since the platforms are social media, you put out content. Content is the only way that you can build a personal brand on social media. And social media is the only way you can ever reach thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people. Okay, so let's just be clear about that. Content is your proxy in the digital landscape. So you've got to be able and willing to put yourself out there. You notice I'm on a live stream every single day, and I am sharing my opinions and my personality with you every single day. And what that does is it allows you to know me, and from knowing me, you decide if you like me and trust me. But more importantly, what that does, and this, by the way, is the essence of the soul of your personal brand. What it does is it has influence over what you say, think, and feel about me behind my back. This is what you need to focus on. Your personal brand, the part that will allow connection to all the other superficial layers of your brand. Your personal brand fundamentally is, what do people say, think, and feel about you when you're not in the room? Do they trust you? Do they like you? Do they think you're funny? Do they think you're capable? Do they think that you can get them results? Do they, what is it? And then you have to facilitate that. You have to nurture that. How do we nurture it? Through content. We nurture it through content. If you don't do this, then your website, your logo, your color deck, your whatever will not have any meaningful impact. They will function for you as very, very expensive vanity tools, vanity pieces. You'll feel really good when somebody comes back with a color deck that matches the headshot that you sent them so they could determine the essence of your spirit. Oh, for the love of God. You're going to feel really good when somebody creates you a website that you and they both feel really matches the essence of who you are. But it's not going to matter at all if people don't know, like, and trust you. So the first thing, the main thing, in fact, potentially the only thing, you don't need any of those superficial things if you nail this part. I'm not saying you don't get those superficial things. I'm not saying they don't have value, but their value is in direct proportion to what people say, think, and feel about you behind your back. How many people do you have that are in the know you, like you, trust you continuum? That's your personal brand. That's it in a nutshell. Then you can add a cool tagline. Then you can add colors, you can add a logo, you can add all those things. And at that point, when we have an emotional reaction to you, at that point, when you show us your logo enough times, we begin to the Pavlovian correlation process, and we see your logo and think of you. But we don't think of you, we think of what we think of you. We think of what we think of you. We go back to what we think and feel about you behind your back. Does that make sense? Are you tracking this? Because if you understand this, a few things will happen. One thing that will happen is you will not pay a so-called branding expert for a website until you're ready. You will not spend $2,000 on a logo and a headline until you're ready. Hopefully, you'll never need that stuff. You'll be able to attract people. You'll have people waiting to take the offers you create. You will have a tribe. You will have a following. You will have raving fans. And it all comes, right, Amy? It all comes from a deliberate strategy of sharing yourself with the world. That's where it comes from, right? It'll come from a deliberate strategy of sharing yourself with the world. And there's more to that than it sounds like, because most of us are afraid to really be ourselves. We do what the gurus call playing small, which is where you aim for the middle. You aim to not offend anyone. You aim to sort of just be a man for all people, a woman for all people, and you can't. There's just no way you can do that. And yet we struggle with that. We struggle hard. We struggle mightily with drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is what the fuck I stand for. This is who the fuck I am. You understand? But doing that will be the catalyst for all the stuff you're trying to create here in the online space and for your business. Doing that will be the catalyst. Showing up consistently, showing up powerfully, which means not aiming for the murky middle, and not being afraid to stand for what you stand for, and not being afraid to stand against what you stand against. That's the soul of your personal brand. And that's what tells people what they know, what they, drawing a blank here, think, feel, and say about that. That's what determines what people think, feel, and say about you behind your back. What people think, say, and feel about you behind your back is essentially your personal brand. I was on a call with a woman yesterday who referenced multiple different pieces of my live stream content. She knew about my backstory. She knew about my upbringing. She was able to talk to me on a level as though we were already friends. Why? Because I put myself out there with consistency, with honesty. I put myself out there in alignment with my values and my ethics, and I showed up as me. I don't aim for the middle. You get it? And so when I get on this call with this woman, it's like she already knows me. Trust me when I say, Having calls with people who feel like they already know you is infinitely better than trying to quickly cultivate trust on a call. It's a big, big difference. So I want you to think about that in all your future content endeavors. Think about being yourself. Think about everything I've said here. Okay, that's it for today. Still feeling a little groggy, a little under the weather. Don't have the energy I usually have, but that's all right. That's all right. See, because I showed up. I'll see you guys tomorrow.